Welcome to Dwarven Forge Live. This is On the Anvil, episode 120. This is the show where we take you behind the scenes here at Dwarven Forge. We show you what we're working on, some of the challenges we're facing, and we may just give you a glimpse of the future. And tonight, we didn't have the lights on.
Forgot to turn the lights back on before.
This is also the show where we never have any technical issues like having lights or sound.
That's barely technical.
Anything.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Woo! We are, tonight is a super special episode because we have our very own Mistress of Minuscule. Michelle is here in the studio, is going to be sculpting live, showing you all of her secrets, her deep, dark secrets, fielding questions, torturing clay with small needles. It is going to be delightful. We're gonna hang out for the next 2 hours. We're gonna drink a frosty beverage. We're gonna take questions, and we're gonna show you how Michelle works her magic. Well, we're not gonna. She's gonna do all the work. We're just gonna sort of sit here and be impressed.
All right, we're not gonna do anything.
What else are we doing tonight, Chris? What's going on?
Roughly an hour into it, we're going to have a giveaway for a $50 Dwarven Forge gift card. Everybody is eligible. We'll have a little secret word that Michelle has to think of, and then we will run that giveaway about halfway through the stream. That's basically it.
Woo!
Yeah.
And if you're new here, feel free to jump on in. We love the interactions, right? The reason we love the show, I mean, there's many reasons we love the show, but one of them is real-time interactions with you folks. You have a lot of good questions. You have a lot of good jokes. You also have a lot of bad jokes. All jokes are good, though. But anyway, feel free to lurk. Feel free to interact with us. That's why we're here. Just be nice. What else? What other preamble do we... Anything else people know? We did the $50. Everybody in the world gets that.
Yeah, I think
we
we're
got
pretty
audio.
much. I think we're pretty much set.
Woo! What does that mean?
I think we're ready for the news.
What does that mean?
I think we're ready for the news.
It's the news. It's the news.
Oh my god! Don't hit things. There's no reason. All right.
Ooh, there's an extra long news tonight.
Yeah, I forgot that I was too busy
trying
trying to stop things from peaking. Yeah.
Woo!
Hi.
So, what's in the news, Michelle?
That I'm in the studio.
Woo!
That's
hey, yeah.
newsworthy, right?
Why? So you're here. Chuck is here. Carrie's here. What's going on? This is impromptu news. This is improv news. Let's see what happens.
Well, I'm here because I just came along for the ride, and I wanted to do some play testing of our new game. We're Heroes Dare.
Which we should talk about that maybe as a segment here at some point in tonight. Maybe we can dip into daring. It's been a wonderful opportunity. Well, first of all, to see you in the flesh, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But you and Aaron have been carrying the torch on Hightown.
Yeah.
So you guys have been putting your creative heads together.
And just putting in a lot of extra thought since we've had this, all the work we did when Cities Untold was one huge...
pre the Lowtown. So there's a schism. Lowtown, Hightown, separated not at birth, at middle age.
Yeah.
Separated after birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we totally derailed. We should save this for the actual when we're talking to you. Let's go back to the news because I jumped
You
off
asked
the
her
rails.
for things, then you told her both of those things are things we should talk about later.
Yeah, well, because I just realized that it wasn't planned. No, so what's that? What else? What's in the news, Chris?
Oh, did somebody actually have news planned? Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. So.
This is all night.
Following up on a couple of projects we've been doing. Hey, all the Lowtown treasure chest emails went out at the end of last week.
Woo.
If you backed Lowtown and you've been waiting to pick your treasure chest, you should have an invite in your inbox sometime around Friday, maybe Saturday. If you don't have it, if you can't find it, if you can't get into the treasure chest, just let us customer support know. They will get it figured out and get you in there.
Hey, let me ask you, anybody that did get your chests, did you enjoy picking treasure chests? Was this a fun adventure?
Did you enjoy the experience?
Yeah. Also, did you enjoy the experience of Chris making plans and me derailing them at every turn?
Yeah, well, they never get to see that.
Yeah, no, never live every week. So if anybody enjoyed the chess, let us know. What else, Chris? What do we got?
The other big thing that you might know about, we're doing a, unless you forgot to close your pledge. Oh yeah, if you haven't closed your pledge, please reach out to customer support so we can help you with that as well. We will make sure that you still get your pledge finalized and get your treasure chests and all that. We will help you out. Just please don't leave things undone.
Yes.
Try to go back and change one and you couldn't.
You can't.
Contact customer support and they will figure that out for you.
Take care of you, Omar.
Yeah.
Hey, Hidden Mana was thanking you for the Moonlit Arch earlier.
Oh yeah, I think they got it in the reserve release.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like pulling the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are basically never going to exist again. So you gotta. It's a good grab.
There were like 2 people on the Discord who managed to get one that were talking about it. I forgot to add. You might know the next thing we're working on is a reorder campaign of a reworking of our Wildlands Wilderness line, and we are getting closer and closer to having all that stuff ready. And last week we actually set the page live for it, which I am now making a command for because I realized I forgot to do it before the stream.
Wildlands Reforged. You guys
Yeah.
came up with a name here on the air?
Yeah,
Chris and
yeah.
Tyler have been pushing it out and making it real?
Yeah, we stole that from someone.
Wow. Letitia has learned the whole back end of GameFound in like a week. So
Yeah, we've been
she's a wizard.
She is.
we've been chewing through that thing. Okay, cool. The command is in there, and we have the. Please tell me this works. Yeah, there we go.
Woo.
We launched the page, and you can follow it now if you want. I would recommend it. It's probably going to be good for you to be following the project ahead of time. And in general, like it's the page itself is a little bare bones right now. But the nice thing about GameFound preview pages is we can actually put information on there. So we're going to be filling it out over the coming weeks. Have more information there. Yeah, I don't know. We're excited to try out the platform, see how it all works.
So if you haven't yet, go visit the page, follow it, so you know when it launches somewhere around Gen Con, probably a week
after.
thereafter.
Yeah. We're very close to being able to do just like kind of like a full big info dump on like, okay, this is what it's going to be. This is what we're like locking in the last few things right now.
Yeah.
So
Maybe in 2 weeks or something, we'll do a full episode on breaking down what to expect in Reforged. And it's a fun experiment for us. A, trying GameFound, and B, trying to do a reorder on this platform so you guys can get everything without having to worry about it being in stock. And we'll see how it goes. It could open up a bunch of new avenues for us in the future.
yeah.
Crystal Canvas.
What else we got, Chris?
I think that's basically it.
Preview page and
page.
treasure chest. Yeah, there's no other.
Oh, July restock.
Hey.
We don't know when it's landing yet. We're waiting for confirmation on when the container is landing. But the July restock's coming up in the next couple weeks. The big thing is we've got the 2 more Forsaken Temple sets coming in, and we're gonna have a little bundle of the Forsaken Temple sets.
Chris put together a cool bundle. It's awesome.
Just a little bundle gets you the 3 Forsaken Temples sets and a little bit more and a gift card. Yeah. So that's that.
All right, so we're out of the news. We're into the present, the real world here, the challenges we are facing. So
Yes.
Michelle is, you're an all-around senior creative, right? Huge hand in development, both in concepting, refining, and then sculpting with a huge focus on minuscule details, right? You are
Yes.
the undisputed champion of the tiny details, like the ridiculous pieces. Sometimes the detail's so fine we can't even capture it in the molds. It's too detailed.
Yeah, occasionally, it gets not quite as clear, but most of the time the pieces turn out amazing.
Well, because you work it until you're bleeding, your fingers are literally bleeding, and then it always comes out pretty damn amazing. Even if it's not as perfect as in your brain you were striving for, it's like, by the time it gets out to the wild, it's awesome. So right now, as we were sort of jumping into in the news, derailing the news segment, you're heavily focused in on Hightown. So you and Aaron have been tag teaming on that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And we got she has some beans. You guys buckled up. Do they know there's beans coming, Chris? Do they know?
Yeah, I teased it in the Discord.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got some. This is exciting. This is gonna be some first looks and some exciting bits.
Well, the biggest thing that we've been focusing on is trying to quantify the feel of each of the zones. You know, in Lowtown we had the different districts, and with Hightown, I think we'll be doing something similar to that. But we wanted to, we kind of put a little bit of Elven in with Lowtown. And with Hightown, I think we're going to lean a little more heavily in being able to customize the look and feel of the buildings that you're playing on, and giving more options so that you can reuse the same building blocks and just add some dressing and facades and change the entire look and feel.
Like you and Aaron have been going pretty heavy in the last few weeks on sort of quantifying the styles. So the goal is, so Ashlar, the core of Hightown is going to be Ashlar. And those of you that are joining new, Hightown is going to be our follow-up to Cities Untold Lowtown, which was our Kickstarter we did a few months ago. When was it?
February.
4
months ago.
4 months ago.
It closed 4 months ago to the day.
Wow. Not that you're counting. This is
February
amazing.
28th. Well, I just looked and I'm like, oh, it's 28 days in February. It's
Woo!
June 28th.
So we did
entire months.
Lowtown, right? The seedier part of town, the dockside and the ramshackle vernacular wood buildings, the rustic style. Now we're going to go to Hightown, which is the elegant, upstanding, fancy part of town. The core of that is ashlar stone, which is a little more specific. Like, one of the amazing things about Lowtown stuff is it was super, I don't want to say generic, but it was generic, right? It was building blocks that you could use for tons and tons of things. The core pieces for Hightown are a lot more specific, right? Some very elegant masoned ashlar stone. So you guys are working on like, hey, if people are going to get these specific pieces, how can we get as much versatility as possible in them by changing the look, by adding a few bits, throwing some dressing or whatever? And I think it's going to go a long way. Especially people can also just get the dressing and or the facades and or the other bits without getting into that, and they can add to the other bits. And I don't know, it's going to be good.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff we're doing will look good with, in some of the nicer wooden buildings.
Yep.
Not so much ramshackled, unless you wanted to have some epic piece in the middle of a hovel.
A giant fireplace in your yeah.
And have that, have the whole mystery of how the heck did this piece get here?
But you could also do something fun, like build the big manor house with the courtyard, and then use some of your Lowtown stuff to make the caretaker's cottage or whatever. Or some, I don't know. There's gonna be some fun ways to mix and match.
We already got people asking about ruins.
No,
it's very funny
yet.
that people think that cut window frame was Elven.
Oh yeah.
You use it in like early pictures, and people got really attached to it, and then it got cut.
Also, you say people are asking about ruins. It's not people. It's one specific person, isn't it?
There's two.
Okay. But one of them is Rabbit Burner. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay. It's like, he's got an auto. He's a macro. He just hits and it says ruins, ruins, ruins.
He's also generally like 39 people usually.
That's true. 39.
Yeah, I think that's the bit.
Sweet rabbits.
Yeah.
39, 37.
Let's see.
It's no ruins yet, but there's some point ruins will be a ruin.
Definitely. I'm on the ruin bandwagon because I love getting to break stuff.
Well, so one of the neat things about Michelle is your process. You have this super analog process, right? Where you will make things, cast them, and then modify the castings, and that lets you do repetitive stuff. Like, it's an analog copy and paste. It's really good for ruins, for instance, as well as a bunch of other.
Well, the Kalantiri ruins that we did in Wildlands, they were originally all intact pieces.
We have those.
And so, and if I ruined one and didn't like,
You could re-ruin it.
I could re-ruin it. I could just make another cast and break it. And, or it made it really easy to make multiple broken versions because I had that base part.
You always had that master you could go back to and just get another copy and like, what am I going to try it this time?
Yeah.
Oh. And we have those we can like at some point make
We can
the
make
full,
the unruined ruins.
Yeah. Do you remember? We were talking when we first were kicking off Cities Untold, we were going to do the unruined ruins as part
Don't
of
let them
Cities
know
Untold.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but there were a bunch of, it wasn't
Don't
the
tell them
city
that.
builder system, right? They're 3 inches high, and it was a whole thing. It was like sort of introducing this completely different thing into the rest of it. And then we started counting sculpts, and the same thing. We got to Hightown, counting sculpts. It's already like we're already over the limit. And we're not even like halfway there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and to think that we, at one point, thought we could do both high and low town
Yeah,
in
I know.
one Kickstarter.
No. But you know what? It did let us develop both together, so they're kind of sister systems, and then they get to each go off and have their own identity. But there's,
Sister
Yeah,
cities.
there was definitely a
Like-
benefit to having started them off together.
Yeah.
Nia Foya's here. She won the master sculpts of the Griffin Pillars.
Oh,
She says she's been using them in game.
Congrats. Send a picture.
Yeah.
I have Waffle Witches here. I have it here. The shelf.
Or are you just working on it here?
Well, no, I have it finished. I just need to get it painted.
Do you want to show it on camera?
We could show it on camera. It's here.
Waffle Witch, are you here?
The vase.
Let me see if Waffle Witch is here.
This is the best.
But I do
I-
have the unruined ruins
I feel like
here.
it'd be very rude to show for everybody else to see
What?
Waffle Witch's thing before.
Before they
Yeah.
get to see it?
Or it could be a fun secret. It's like, oh, look what they're gonna do.
Ooh, Valendar the Red has an interesting question. So, what does it take to be a sculptor for y'all? And do your sculptors have to work in house? And do you have digital sculptors? Do you want
Yes,
to,
yes,
as
and
an
yes.
expert in sculpting?
Yes, yes, and yes.
As a resident sculptor, do you want to talk about
Well,
what it takes, what it's like, what the? I don't know.
what it takes is letting us know you're there.
Step one. Yeah.
Yep. I posted it in the forums. It was before Discord was a thing. And so I had posted some of the stuff I was working on.
I mean, this was like 8
This
years
was-
ago. This
This was in the
yeah.
middle of the first Cities Kickstarter.
Oh, so that's
And they didn't have a lot of dressing pieces at the point.
like none. It was. Yeah.
And I wanted I was making trash piles.
And you've come full circle.
Yep, full circle. We had our trash piles, our barricades in Lowtown, and Stefan happened to see it. This stuff I was doing, we were in the middle of the city's campaign. There was 2 weeks left, and he says, "How fast can you sculpt?"
This is classic Stefan.
And everybody in the forums were like, "Did Stefan just ask you to sculpt for Drawer and Forge? Really?" I was like, apparently, yes.
And it was a bit of a disaster, not on your end. Like, it was,
Well, it had some things that needed to be worked out. The second big campaign that I worked with, I was working directly with you, Nate. So
we still had
that was
we still had some disasters. But
we did.
not on you again.
Oh.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was living in Utah. The whole, up until, just 3 years ago, I've been living almost the whole country away from.
You were basically,
studio.
once we kind of got serious, like around Cameron's Deep was when things got like really,
Really,
serious. And then it was, the routine became we would get everybody to come out for some creative sprints. We'd get everybody in the studio together for a week, or sometimes we even did 2 weeks or something.
2 weeks.
It
was usually 2 weeks.
We do a creative summit and then just sort of just everyday brainstorming and creative. It was like these fun rapid fire melting pots where everybody's throwing stuff in and sort of rapidly breaking off, doing stuff, coming back in, exploring bits, like wherever.
Yeah, it was a lot of creative process.
It was bonkers.
And we were getting everybody involved, not just the Sculpt team.
Oh, it was like because there were only there were like 8 people. Like it was it was like the whole company was suddenly there. It was like
and
it was really fun.
Yeah, those are definitely a lot of fun. Being able to work remotely, having the pandemic really, I think, even though it was a horrible thing, I think it improved a lot of our methods for communication.
It radically improved sort of life for the remote folks. Like suddenly everybody was remote, and we had to improve our remote how we interface with people remotely in our communication, whatever. And I think it got enormously better for anybody that was working remote, because you're remote and Eli is remote, and it's sort of like we managed to kind of gel the creative team around how remote work flow could work and keep everybody in the loop, and it's maintained, and it's been really fruitful.
It's definitely helped the process and keeping us all together on the same page for things.
Yeah. Regular meetings, regular brainstorms, regular sharing of ideas and sharing of sketches and sculpts and sort of the work, so everybody can weigh in and help bounce off each other's ideas and build off them and improve and iterate.
And we can get instant feedback on when in the middle of a sculpt. I can post a picture and tag you on it, and everybody in the development team chimes in and helps, especially when there's
something's weird on this. What do we? What if you sharpen that up, or what if you try this, or here's a sketch of something like this. So anyway, the moral story is you don't need to be here physically. So we tend to get people together physically a few times a year to keep that human contact and kind of get everyone in place. But then we spend a lot of time on Slack and on video calls, sort of keeping the collaboration and communication together. And what was question number 2 it was what does it take to be here? What is it?
There was a question about digital sculptors.
Do we have digital sculptors?
So Eli is doing the bulk of his sci-fi work digital right now. Toby's been doing a ton of digital. Like we've been playing with a lot of digital and hybrid techniques, doing stuff digital, then printing it out, and then adding analog bits, or previs in digital and then going analog, or doing the armature digital and then sculpting analog, or taking the analog sculpt and then scanning it and then tweaking it digital.
Yeah,
we're getting wildly hybrid.
What's happening right now with Toby fixing, digitally fixing a physical sculpt from Lowtown, being able to.
He did a physical sculpt and then a scan of it, and that's digitally altering it. This the market stall. It wouldn't fit. It wasn't quite 2 inches square on the inside, so he then got to go back in and adjust. And he also had some things that annoyed him about the original sculpt. He was having a hard time getting inside with the green stuff, so then he could go in there digitally and clean up the things.
Yep.
It was pretty wild.
It's fun to be able to continue working analog and physically sculpting, but the possibilities of digital just open things up in a meaningful way. A lot of time is often used to sculpt a mirror image of double doors, wanting to have.
You spent a lot of time trying to mirror things analog.
Yes,
and
I do it a lot, which
Tortures.
I was going to demonstrate a little bit of some of the techniques I use to help me get past.
No. Well, Valendar, if you got a cool portfolio, send it over. Let us know you exist, and who knows? We generally have enough sculpt capacity currently, but who knows what'll ever evolve. And Yeah, shoot your shot. Is that what they say?
Yeah,
the internet.
definitely.
Yeah.
Show us what you got, and we'll look at it seriously. So,
Oh, we got more questions coming through. What are your top 3 sculpts that you're? I guess let's say, what are the 3 sculpts you're most proud of? It's hard to say what, but like, what are the 3
Yeah.
you're most proud of?
well, Moonlit Arch
Yeah, is
was so much fun because I was given like 100% leeway to do what I wanted.
so. This was
And-
so at the end of Wildlands. So Wildlands was a bonkers, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years of just grinding. We launched the Kickstarter in pandemic. We didn't know if anything was going to work, and it worked. It was amazing. Right? It was our biggest one to date. So I was like, we need an artistic victory lap at the end. What do you want to make?
Yeah.
What do you want to make? And it was like, and you're like, I need to do the arch to end all arches, the ruins, and you did.
Yeah, I wanted to do a big showpiece that used all of the elements that I'd created for the Calendari ruins, and it was just so much fun.
When it was we were casting in resin, so you could go nuts. Like you didn't have to worry about the size or the number
Right.
of pieces or whatever. It was like,
Yeah, it was a lot of freedom that we don't have when casting in Dwarvenite, and so it was just a fun piece to get to do and get to produce. That I do lots of stuff that's just for myself, and it's so nice when I get to do a fun piece that I would have done for myself, and
for
then
everybody, yeah.
everybody gets a chance to own it.
What are 2 others that you are super
the
proud of?
bookcase, the
Secret
secret
Door
door
bookcase?
bookcase.
Which you haven't had your hands on it yet, but it's gonna blow your mind. It's like the engineering alone was amazing, and the sculpting of the detail on your shelf, like it was.
It took longer than I anticipated, but because
took
I was
forever.
almost doing entirely in green stuff, and most of the time I'm using Sculpey, a polymer clay, rather than the green stuff. And so I did almost all of it in green stuff because I wanted to have the sculpt to be 100% workable, that it
Yeah.
was functional.
And it was. You got.
And it
like,
was.
It was a real masterpiece.
And it was so much fun.
Oh.
And then way back into the Wayback Machine, the golems, the runic golems.
Who's got the golem wall? Dungeon of Doom golem wall. There's the wall with the golem in it, and there's the animated version. Yeah.
It was the first time I did anything like a figure, and it really
awesome.
kind of pushed the envelope for me. And then I got to utilize the same techniques that I use, which was made a mold of the static one, put clay in it, armature and clay in it, and then was able to manipulate it into the
The animated
action
one.
pose.
That gag is such a fun, like, people ask, that piece is like is a crowd favorite. Like, it's such a
Yeah.
neat, it's a really neat one. We had someone was saying, how do you break, it was advice for breaking pieces into multiple parts. I don't know, they have to ask it again. Someone had a really neat, it was a process question about, how do you, they were having a hard time casting a thing or something, trying to break a thing into multiple parts. I'll see if they can bring it back up, because it's the kind of thing you're a specialist in.
Yeah, being able to, part of the problem is that if you sculpt something and aren't thinking about how it's going to be cast, how you're going to make that mold while you're working on it, it's a lot harder to backward engineer the molding process. So the best advice I can give is to think about how you're going to cast it and sculpt to that.
Think about the end result, and then make sure you're sculpting to something that's actually castable. And because you are really good at casting, like you know how to make molds. Like, I feel like that's one of your strengths, is you know what's going to work because you've made so many molds. So then you know
And
how
I
to work
made all
around
those
it.
mistakes. I made many, many, many mistakes. In Dungeon of Doom, the snake brazier,
Mm-hmm.
that one was one that was, I didn't think it through well enough when I was trying to work it all out. And that took some extra work. I think the biggest thing is look at the planes. So if it's if what you're working on has multiple things that are coming off of a center, you want to take a look at the piece from just one cross section. Figure out how you're going to do the mold for that, and then anything that's not in that plane, you want to try and sculpt it as something that's removable.
Works on that.
That it's going to come off of the main part of the piece.
Well, that's one of the things you're really good at. You'll break a piece into multiple parts. You're like, okay, this lamppost needs to be
Yeah,
three
how do
different
we- how do
things,
we
and I
need
have to have a
to-
channel in it, and I've got to whatever, and then I boom, 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 you make all those and it comes together. And so it sounds like the moral of the story is do a whole bunch of casting and just mess it up, and eventually you'll get it right.
Tutorials on YouTube. There's a wealth of information available if you're willing to sift through it to find the good stuff. Drew, who does most of our miniatures, he was at one of during Caverns Deep. I got to meet him then, and I talked to him about casting, since he casts
He's
his
old
own
school. Yeah.
and does the spin casting for metal models or miniatures.
Yeah.
Seder Games, I think is
Seder something. Seder Studio? Seder
maybe it's Studio.
something like that. Yeah. He has
Sorry,
this,
Drew.
Drew Williams, an anatomy master. Like he really, he knows his stuff, and he's old school that same way. Like he knows how to cast, he knows the mold, so he can
Yeah,
sculpt
and-
to the mold.
And I had
Seder Art Studio,
Seder Art.
Seder Arts. Okay,
Is he watching?
thank you.
I think.
Oh,
No, I'm just
Oh.
I'm looking it up.
got
Oh.
it.
Yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook,
Pretty sure
so
this is him. Yeah. this has
I
to
get to see all of his new stuff.
I love that dude.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of this. We've Thomas people some Hightown stuff. Let's dive in a little bit here. So do you want to show them what you're up to here? Because this is like Michelle got to a point yesterday. We were like, what are you gonna do in the end? She's like, oh, you know what? If I can pull this off, I can sort of show this wild
This process.
You know, I am
And yeah, I did.
Let me find it. All right, is everybody buckled up? We're in full Bean Central here.
Okay, so what
Hey.
you're seeing here is a work in progress facade piece. We are planning to so you don't have to buy all new roofs for Hightown. We're going to create facades that cover up the wood part of the roof with
So back in, so
design
we
and-
sold a ton of modular roofs in Lowtown, but they all have the wood side. But Hightown is all this elegant stone. We want people to be able to use the same roofs, but have it match with their stone. So voila.
This is for our Gothic zone, I guess, theme.
my favorite Sonic level.
What was that?
It's my favorite Sonic level.
Oh.
The Gothic Zone.
And we've been doing so many internet searches for research pictures
Yeah,
and
you
artwork.
are really good at tracking down inspiration bits that are
And-
so dead on.
This came actually from a ceiling of a cathedral, and it just sort of evolved. It started out
Yeah.
with just a very simple, I don't know if you can see it,
Yeah.
a simple design. And I sculpted this piece here, then created a mold of it.
Well, first you sketched out, right? You did like, hey,
I
something like this, and it
did
was like
sketch out.
it was one of those killer sketches where it was just like the first sketch was like an absolute home run. Like usually we iterate, it's like
Yeah.
9 sketches in to like, explore all the options, whatever. And this was just like, first one, like you kick the door down. You're like, what about a little something like this? It's like, oh!
Well, and then it evolved beyond the sketch because the original sketch was a lot simpler than this design, and
So I assume it would have, what I'm seeing at the bottom there, it would have like an integral biscuit basically to plug into
yeah,
the biscuit on the roof.
It's either biscuit or
Integral peg.
the pegs in the back to go where the soffit.
yeah.
So
This will.
we're sorting out the engineering. It's probably
Use the soffit holes on the existing roofs, but it'll have a hole for the biscuits so that you'll still be able to put a biscuit into it.
through the little
Oh,
slot.
so you could put like a gargoyle off of it or something.
Yeah. And this was what's wild is how quickly you've been jamming this out, right? So once you cast a whole bunch of those,
Well,
right? You cast
instead
a
of
bunch of those guys,
casting
right?
them, what I ended up doing was I made the mold and then pressed clay into it. By doing it as a press mold, it allows me to work. A casting is rigid and you can't change it at all. You can't do anything. You
You
can.
can't individualize
but-
it easily.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to change the original design if it's cast in resin or whatever. So I press clay into the mold and created 4 copies of it.
But
that
they're
I-
still malleable. They're still clay.
Yeah, they're still soft clay. And so I was able to meld them together so it looks like it's a solid piece rather than 4 pieces glued together. And then continued to sculpt out.
And what was wild is like so then yesterday you put a ring on that part there, and it wasn't quite right. You're like, yeah, is this?
Yeah,
you
I
know-
put
Oh, yeah, you got
this
the-
one here on, and it just, to me, it didn't, let's see, it just didn't feel
It's
like
just
it was in the
soft.
same
Yeah.
style. It just didn't quite work. I mean, it was pretty and everything, but it didn't say this is Gothic. And so I peeled that off and created a second design that was that had more pointy. One thing I've noticed with the Gothic designs is it's very sharp, very pointy, very.
And you're no stranger to pointy sculpts.
Yep. And so I created this ring here. When we held it up against the roof, the little tiny bit of the ring up here went above the roof line. And so we thought, well,
Well, and
I
so
could-
the original plan was this was going to fit within the roof line. We'd have the soffit, whatever, and then you
Yep.
said, well, I kind of broke the rule, but look, maybe.
Well, it was still soft clay, so I could have trimmed it back, changed some of the dimensions a little bit, and gone with it. But the idea of putting the soffit over the top of the design, hiding
Yeah.
a good portion of the design under a soffit, that's not the way Gothic cathedrals look.
Well, it wasn't going to do justice to the thing.
So instead, we decided to go up above, just completely break the plane of the top of the roof.
Well, that was your first instinct. You're like, I kind of broke the plane of the roof. Can I just go big?
Yeah, go all the way.
I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? She's like, what if you probably put a whole bunch of spikes? Oh yeah, you're like, and then boom, you have here we are. Like that was yesterday. This time last night, you had just this and a little and this rubbed out, and now you have like the whole thing on there. And
yeah, I got in at 7 o'clock this morning and been working ever since to get this done, and just continued adding patterns. Now we want to be. I'm going to have to make a second one that's mirror of this. The idea being that it'll be the backside.
So you can put two. You want to put two of these together.
Yeah.
To make a.
To save on sculpts, if this side is just mirrored on the back side of this one, it'll clean up this back edge, which, as you can see, is pretty ugly right now.
Mm-hmm.
If it's got pattern on both sides, when you're looking at it from behind, you'll still see all this cool detail on this side, and you'll just have to have two of them and flip the other one onto the other side. And
well, what's great is then you're never looking for a right or a left. You always, everyone's a right and a left, so you always in pairs.
Yeah.
And you can use it alone if you just have a half roof there.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you use the Nidaros Cathedral as a reference at any point? Somebody's pointing out it looks a lot like this church in Norway.
Most likely.
This one right here.
There's so many Gothic cathedrals.
Does this one
You've
look
been
familiar?
pulling a lot of
that
art,
I've been pulling. That one doesn't look familiar.
Yeah.
But it also looks like
It's
seven of the other ones.
It's the architecture style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
it's in the sweet spot.
Another thing that's nice, even though I have now baked this, and in fact made a mold of
check out this mold. This is. Ooh, they also have a little corner post beam on there too.
Oh yeah.
Inverted.
Created a mold of the piece. I'm starting to think that maybe I don't like the way these the top spikes look. One of the difficulties with looking at pictures online is that most of the cathedrals, the pointy bits on whatever they're called.
I think that's an architectural term, the pointy bits.
The pointy bits?
The springles, yeah.
They're worn away, so it's really hard to tell what design is on there. And it's hard to find pictures that really show the details. But at this point, I'm feeling like I want to cut these all off and sculpt something new for it.
Well, that's one of the remarkable things about you is you're not afraid to just keep
to work on it again.
Yeah, just keep trying it. Try another option. See, you're not precious about it and changing it and trying it and just taking the artistic journey and just going and keep going. And it's there's a fearlessness there, right? Of just not, because every time you go back into the unknown, it's like, well, what if this doesn't come out right? Or, what if this is no good? Or what if I fail? Or what if I whatever? And you just keep diving back in. Hey, this is pretty good, but maybe I have something even better in me. Let me see what else I got. And you just keep keep plumbing that well, looking for that sort of the magic thing.
And it's nice that I do have that option of just pressing clay into the mold that I made, and having the ability to just rework it.
Well, what's neat is you quickly audition stuff, right? You'll mock up a loose thing of clay and say, hey, is this any better, right? You're like, I'm searching, see if I can top this or whatever, and like a lot of times I'll just have to say, just put it down, Michelle. Go, like,
Yeah,
you got
ship it.
There's another 80 sculpting. Like, this is good. Like, you already got an A. You don't need, or it's an A plus. You don't need it to be an A plus plus plus. Like, you just like, just go. But then sometimes you're like, oh my God, you're right. That is like, it is so much better. It's worth it.
Well, and I can also say, okay, this is done. It could work. It could be great. Let's set it aside and work on the next piece. And then when we're putting stuff together and going, you know what? I think you're right. We need to take those off and do something better. We need to make that change.
Well, that's
and I
also
can easily go.
It happens down the line a lot of times, right? You work on a sculpt alone, and it seems like it's great, and then you suddenly put it in a build together with all the stuff, and you're like, oh no, this isn't fitting with the whole family. We have to adjust a thing.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, no problem. I got a mold here. I'll just.
Yes, luckily we have the options to fix it.
So this mold, though, it didn't. Is this the one that didn't live up to your expectations?
Well, the problem with the mold was what I use normally is for my prototyping and for making texture molds and things, I use a harder silicone. This is a Shore. This won't make sense to anybody unless they've worked with silicone, but this is a Shore A31 versus
A31
versus this is a Shore A16. Basically, what it means is that this is a much tougher silicone. This is a lot softer.
A little light on that. Let's see if I can get into. Yeah, you can't see that. Whoa. Can't see any of the texture and the thing.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a door?
Yes, this is the lumber baron's door, the fancy door. This is the. It's been sitting in. One thing that's unfortunate about silicone is that it somehow has a reaction with the clay, the polymer clay that I use, and it will kind of dry it out. And so this has been sitting in the mold for half hour, an hour, and so it's caused it to become brittle and torn. But
so this is the fancy door with the circular little halfling door.
Yep, and we wanted the inside to be different, so I had taken one side and used it to create the other side, and just changed the design in the middle or on the interior side of the halfling door.
So awesome. It's this analog cut and paste that is just, or copy and paste that it just blows my mind.
So originally what I wanted to do tonight was to press clay into this mold so that I could show how I can take elements of the original sculpt, cut them out, turn them 90 degrees, and then sculpt the rest of it that can't just be mirrored over.
So your plan was you were going to, live tonight, you were going to do the back side of that, showing these neat techniques.
Yeah, showing how I utilize the molds to create the alternate version.
However, like many Dwarven Forge plans, what would have it here?
Well, part of the problem is actually that because I made this so thin, pressing clay into it is already a challenge. I wanted it. My original intent for having it thin was because we wanted to do two sides, and that would need to be thin. But for copying and pasting, it works better if this is a little deeper, and then it also the softer silicone doesn't hold up the details, and there's so many really tiny details.
So basically, you smush the clay in, and it flattens the silicone, and we don't get
the
nice crisp.
Distorted view of the image, and so I can't utilize this for a press mold, unfortunately.
So what do we want to do instead? What would be fun? Do people have requests of what they want to see Michelle do? Ooh, what's that one?
Want to get started on a modular ship?
Yeah. Oh, it's already done.
Fair.
We're doing the animated version
Of the modular ships.
Yeah.
Those are so much fun.
What is that? Oh, that's the bottom of the.
This is a new. Oh,
Oh, is this coming? Is it bending the table?
I think so.
Oh man.
It's very possible that table's not the most stable thing to be clamping that lamp to.
Is this gonna work? Should I adjust it?
Well, let's see.
No technical issues whatsoever.
I don't know if it's technical.
The lamp falling over? No.
Yeah.
This is doing a new texture for the sides of the ashlar floors, and I made up the design.
So why are we going? Let's back it up. Why are we changing the side of the ashlar floors?
Well, the current design on the sides of the floors is a little more specific and not quite as detailed. And since we wanted Hightown both to feel generic, be generic enough that when you put the dressing on, the walls and everything are vanilla, and we're throwing in all the flavor.
It's like a French vanilla. It's pretty fancy vanilla.
It is fancy vanilla, but it's still, and vanilla is expensive anyway. But anyway, I came up with some alternates for the ashlar floors, and came up with a design that we liked that kind of tied into the arched drips that we've got on the walls themselves. And when we had done the roofs in Lowtown, we had a layer that was that matched the sides of the floors, so that when you saw them, saw the build stacked, you could see where the floor level for each. It just kind of made it all tie together a little better.
It was a nice continuity when the building. We did a bunch of layers of building. It felt right.
And so, to pull that into Hightown, I went ahead and did the same thing for the new design. Put it in on the floor, and all I had done was, since I'd made a sculpt that was the size of the floor, I just took.
You took 2 inches of it, just clipped it off, and
cut it and fit it onto the piece. And now we have, in ashlar, we're going to have the 2x2 floors and the
2x4.
2x4. Plus we have the dangle room and bay window and a diagonal wall. And so I need to take the design and make it into a 2-inch version. So all I'm going to do is take the original sculpt and cut it down and then,
Clean up the bits and
yep.
give it a little little bit of character, and off we go.
So that was what it came up with as a possible thing to work on while
it.
answering questions.
Yeah. All right. So what do we have any questions
think the
for
first thing we should
Michelle?
do-
And I've got questions if you.
I think we might as well start the giveaway word now.
Secret word?
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, you've had an hour to think about it. What's the secret word we can give you?
Successful failure.
Successful failure.
That's a
One word.
lot.
One word.
Yeah.
Is that too much? Too long?
Let me see if it'll let me put that in. Is there two C's
Ooh,
or one?
moonlit
There's two C's.
arch as one.
That's a lot. Yeah, all right. Successful failure as one word. For a chance to win $50 Dwarven Forge gift card.
Success fail is really. That's a great one.
Because
This just feels mean. All right.
Someone was asking if we're redesigning the corner posts too.
Yes. The short answer, yes.
We're redesigning most things, I think.
I wanted, again, to make it more generic. I also wanted to,
I feel like generic's the wrong. We keep using generic.
Yeah.
It's like universal is the.
More flexible.
Universal.
We're trying to find a like. Once you had, we hadn't really thought holistically about Hightown, and then you and Aaron started looking at it as a big whole, and then hey, how are we going to add styles to this and whatever, and what do we actually have, and is that going to serve? Is it universal enough to then transform stylistically if we're adding some bits? And the answer was no. The side of the floor and the corner posts were not doing what they were supposed to.
the other problem is that how we created this design and texture, it was not painting up the same as any of the rest of it.
That was the big driver at first, right? Aaron was like, "This just isn't gonna sit right when it all."
It doesn't look. They don't look well together. Do well
Yeah.
together. We needed to have. Part of it's the depth. Part of it is the fact that this is one of the first things we 3D scanned, and it kind of some of the crispness just disappeared.
Yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't working right.
And I could have gone in and just tried to clean up the design.
But it wasn't in
But-
service to what it wasn't going to do what we needed to.
Yeah, it kind of. I didn't want to redo someone else's work.
Yeah. Well, also when it wasn't working right, it wasn't. It didn't match the rest of the walls in the right way. It didn't have the right texture to. It wasn't going to do what we needed to do. That's one of the things Aaron's really good at, is sort of mercilessly looking at things like, this isn't.
Yeah.
This could be better. This could
So
be better. I know
yeah.
I've worked on this 9 times, but I think it could be better.
When she's painting something, she has to look at it over and over and over again, and just was not happy with how the paint was going onto these pieces. It didn't feel the same as the sides of the floors or any of the walls. It looked off. So I came up with a design which had some a masonry or architectural design called Coins.
With a Q.
Yeah, with a Q. And I really loved the way those look.
And Toby was sneaking those into the 1 inch rise stuff, the urban elevation
And
bits,
some of
and
the seawall stuff.
yeah, it was already it already was sneaking into the city vernacular, the visual, right? Like so, it was already part of the essence of the city, and you just took it further.
Just
And then
coins with a QU instead of a C.
Yeah,
It's like the way they spell honey in Winnie the Pooh.
yeah,
It's
Something
gotta be
like
different.
like a bunny.
It's got to be different.
So I did redesign these. I wanted to have having our little drips that are on the arches that are on the top of the ashlar walls. Aaron rightly pointed out that they should be included into the design.
Yeah,
And so they are actually in here.
like a background layer, so there's a nice continuity in the walls.
So when you see them all up together, it looks a little better. And I created this design for the facade hole, the accessory hole that will be on these posts.
Did that
And
little shield design, did that come from something else? Weren't you inspired by some other piece that was in a thing and then modified it to that? Am I making that up?
well, it's partially like one of the designs that for the corner post that Eli had originally
It was an
done.
original sketch that then he bounced off.
And
I feel like this is the challenge with DF work is it's hard to remember where all the ideas originate from because it's just like constant layering of
yeah,
12 different people ideas getting layered onto a thing, little by little, incrementally making it better.
well, and then I think you were the one that suggested that we pull some element of the new corner post design into the side of the floor so that
Because the floor didn't feel like it was connected.
And so that same design is in the center of the floor, just kind of squished a little bit since it's not as tall. But that's how I end up cheating all the time. Is once I had a mold of the that I'd sculpted it once and copied that design so that I could put it on the reverse side and could throw it down onto the floor and modify it. So
Did you cut that out from your press foam and just cut
yeah,
that little
cut this
little
out so
symbol?
that I could
That's
put it
awesome.
somewhere else. Added little arrow shapes into the design on the
And
floor.
This thing I feel like has already lost detail, right? This is
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This
you
was
ding this thing
this
up
is
a bunch.
the same.
Yeah.
This is the same. This particular mold, we got 2 good casts out of it, and then it ripped out.
Oof.
And so this here is shows how badly this mold has degraded. Just 2 casts, and if I can offer any advice, one, if you're pouring resin, absolutely need to have a mold release sprayed
Yes.
on your silicone, because resin just does a number on it. Also, want to make sure that you're using fresh resin. Keep it sealed.
Thank the gods we got a couple of castings, right?
Yeah. Well, I still have the original sculpts,
good.
so I can make it. I'll make
You make
new
another mold.
molds. As soon as I get home, I'll make brand new molds and just do multiples, so that we can get them cast in house and get to play with them. Erin is work everything I get done. As soon as I get done, I've got to get to Erin so she can start playing with paint.
Well, and here's the fun thing is that the paint then might end up changing. Some of the sculpts might adjust because of paint. So,
Yeah, this
Dina from Cavalor, long time listener, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Says the designs are looking more cohesive, and this is like the process. What is it? What are you, Chris?
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it's Dinah. but-
Dinah.
Yeah.
This is this is the process, right? You're getting a window into the process. Like we get stuff close and start putting it all together, and then realize, oh man, we got to tweak this thing. Oh no, we got to tweak this thing. And then the sculpt looks great, and then you paint it up, and the paint's not landing right or whatever. So it's, oh man, we need to tweak this thing, or we need to little by little sort of changing bits here on this piece and on that piece and the one over there, and then together the whole thing starts turning into a cohesive family.
And that's one of the nice things about being able to do kind of a prototype level with doing in-house casting, where we can immediately get paint on it and see what what's looking like. The original, the first iteration of this one, there wasn't a whole lot of difference for the coins. They weren't standing out as
There's
far.
not enough depth.
And so it didn't give us the look that we were trying to reach. And so that got changed. And then I hadn't put in the arches, and Erin immediately said,
Hey,
we've got to put those arches in, because it doesn't look like it was too much separation for the wall and the corner post. And so we wanted something that you could feel like it's just a continuous piece.
And that's all that cross pollination sort of between the steps in the process is also what makes it. It's like not everybody's not working siloed off in their thing. There's all this hand in hand back and forth, so that the final result is going to be fantastic, because sort of each department's thought about it and talked to everybody else to make sure, like, hey, is this going to work together as a thing? And
yeah, it's
and
definitely
we still don't get
improved.
everything 100% right. Like you never
And
win
then
it all, but we
sometimes
do the best we can.
we make some changes in the middle of a Kickstarter, or before the pledge manager, because we worked out that something just didn't quite work. Isn't going to work the way we want it to, and so we need to make those changes.
This is a 1-minute warning on the giveaway. If you haven't typed in successful failure yet for a chance to win the $50 Dwarven Forge gift card, type it in now. Successful failure, all one word. Gonna roll in about a minute. We should make little bracelets out of those.
Asking, would you need a vacuum chamber for something?
When would you need a vacuum chamber for?
When do you use a
pores?
vacuum changer for your pores?
I use vacuum for doing the silicone. I always use because those little micro bubbles that happen no matter how carefully you pour, they happen.
Bubbles are your nemesis. Nemesis.
Especially if you're doing something that's going to be ultimately a master that gets sent to the factory for them to use to make the steel molds. So I always, even my kind of this silicone is, it cures in 1 hour, and has a pot life of like 5 or 6 minutes. And so I always put them in a vacuum chamber. Now for casting, if I'm casting in resin, I will use a pressure chamber. And that's all. The other side of bubbles is, no matter how carefully you mix resin, micro bubbles are a thing, and it's such a pain in the butt to have bubbles in your in your final.
You agonize over all these little tiny millimeters, and you get to the thing, and there's, boom, there's this biggest
Yeah.
bubble right in the
Right in the middle of
the
it.
thing. You're like, oh.
Looks like someone won.
Yeah, Nephlite did.
Hey, congrats.
Congratulations.
I whispered you real quick. Just need to get the email for your store account, and then we can get you that gift card.
Whew.
Ooh.
So if anybody has questions for Michelle, she's taking questions, and as you're messing around with some pieces of oh, we lost a camera.
What happened there? Oh, it might have overheated.
Oh, well, did we tell them in the news section that their AC stopped working? Actually, it feels like it's back on.
I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah. It feels like it's not
Oh,
as hot
yeah.
as it was. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's overheated.
Well, let's give that a minute.
Yeah, we
It-
just have like no air going. It's
At least for
we're
Michelle's hands
we are-
still are live.
yeah we are baking in here. It's
At least there's no babies. That is true.
yeah, at least there's
You
no
haven't heard
babies
the
because
yet.
it's not
I
safe
have
to have
not
babies
heard
in
the
here
babies.
Right through this wall, the baby studio.
Like, I'm just like-
I just summoned them by knocking on the wall.
Just like my face is like glistening. Like, it's so hot in here. Like it's not great.
So, Michelle, do you want to talk about your creative process a little bit? Like you have, going from, it's like, okay, hey, we need a facade for the side of a building, whatever. Like, where do you,
Where do I start?
where do you go? It's like, well, I know I have to fill a triangle, and then that's it. Like, where do you?
Well, I think first is looking for examples, inspiration. The internet is your friend. I can't imagine doing any of this pre-internet.
You manage to
And-
always find very interesting photos, and often not the expected thing, right? You'll go down this rabbit hole and like somehow find your way to something that makes sense. And I don't know how the heck you got there.
Well, sometimes I'll see something totally unrelated that looks cool that I think, oh.
You have a cool barometer, right? Like your coolometer goes off a lot. Yeah.
Once I've got kind of an idea, where is it going to be used is also a huge factor. If I'm
As
working
in
on
where in someone's build, where in
right,
town,
what
where
is
in
it
the fantasy.
for? What is it for? And where is it going to show up? If it's and can it be more than one thing?
That's the thing that always, you've always somehow managed to put an extra, you're like, oh wait, what if we flip it on its head and it's also a chamber pot or whatever, you somehow manage to find another, almost every time you're doing a thing, you're like, what if we did this, what if we did this, like, you're looking at is there anything else that this thing can do?
I think
that blows my mind.
I think it's partly to do with I have always looked at I'll say it's because of Lego.
Yes. I mean, I think we can trace a lot of this because of Lego.
With Lego, they've perfected the art of making one thing look like something else. And once you start
Yeah.
thinking along those lines, you start seeing random stuff out in the world, at stores, whatever, saying, oh, you know what, that looks a lot like a, dilly bop, and
A
I
dilly
bet,
bop, yeah.
and even though it's,
It's from the Little Mermaid set.
even though it's something completely different.
Yep.
And I'm constantly looking at, look at this piece of jewelry has a really interesting design on it. How can I interpret
Can I lift
it?
that? Can I steal that? Is there a thing I can pull from that? And
utilize it to create a decorative?
Yeah, you were really good at finding just that one little, like, look at the handle on this thing here, this cool knife handle. I want to lift this curve and use it as a doorknob or something. And you're like, huh, I guess it would work. And sure enough, it's like this magnificent doorknob.
Well, when we were trying to do, these funny you should say doorknob, try with the really ramshackle door,
Oh, I love that doorknob.
wanting what's the crudest type of closure we could come up with, and ended up using just a rope with a knot tied in it.
Well, that's also like, I feel like that's your story is a driver for you. Like, I feel like you'll look at this piece, like, all right, what's the story? This is a ramshackle door. All right, they probably don't have any money. Man, that means they probably can't afford metal, which means what are they going to use for this doorknob? All right, rope or whatever. Like, I feel like you a lot of times you'll show a piece and say, before they show a sketch, here's what I was thinking. There's blah, 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 blah. And they say, oh yeah, that all makes sense. And then it's like Lampy the lamppost.
The other thing is that while I'm sculpting, sometimes the clay doesn't move the way I expect it to. And then I'll see something else in it.
Yes.
A really good example, I was just fiddling with a piece of clay while, surfing the internet. And I happened to look down, and to me, it looked like a tiny Cthulhu.
Yes.
and so
tiny, like this. You're tiny.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a quarter of an inch tall, and this little Cthulhu statue that I had been fiddling with the clay, and it just happened to start looking like that, and I grabbed a needle and.
But also, you kind of want to see Cthulhu everywhere you go. Let's be honest.
Well, it's the same with faces. You see, we're trained to recognize a face, and this kind of stuff is. The more you start thinking about what you're trying to create, the more you see that inspiration around you. If you say you wanted to buy a car, mm-hmm. You start researching the types of car that you might want. Suddenly,
you see them everywhere.
You see them on the street everywhere. It's the same thing.
You're looking for shapes and
things that are interesting.
Ancient elder gods, and now you start seeing them everywhere. Synchronicity. Hey, what are your favorite Lego sets, Ryan Rajasingh? Because you have a Lego collection.
Yeah, I do.
Like all caps collection, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty large collection. I don't know that I've got a favorite. I really like the architecture stuff. They've got a whole series of city streets, or
like
city
famous
buildings.
City streets.
City buildings. When we got the first couple of ones, I really wanted to add lights to it. Mm. And so I'd gotten some Christmas lights and put lights and stuff in it. And that became, just sort of became a thing where I started putting Christmas decorations on the building. And then, so we had the lights in there, and then I started putting Christmas decorations on it. And then eventually I had this whole Christmas village with a train and everything. I really didn't have a lot.
Surprised. Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of Lego growing up, and my husband Chuck, his mom was always sending him Lego sets. When we were first married, she still sent him a Lego set.
That's amazing. The engineer that never tired of building.
And then I got into it.
1982 Galaxy Explorer.
Mm.
was my first Lego set. My grandfather got for me. Blew my mind.
It's your first
Never
car?
turned back. Yeah, my first car was a spaceship. It had a little
It's a
little moon
1982
buggy that
Galaxy
came out the
Explorer.
back. The Galaxy Explorer. It was like it had two, like the 12 by 12 like base plates and a little tiny radar dish, and it had a moon buggy that came out the back. And it was like crazy. It blew my mind. I was like, you could just take all these pieces and build this thing, and then you could take apart it. It was like, that's it. And here I am.
Yeah, I've got
Well,
a
it starts with
lot
Legos.
of Harry Potter,
Ooh,
all the castle sets from Harry Potter.
that's awesome.
Those are all really cool.
Don't look. They're making like those Lord of the Rings.
They do have a ton of
Don't go on the internet. Okay.
yeah, well, I've got, I get catalogs and emails every week.
You're on their special
from-
list.
Yes,
Yeah.
so.
Will the cattails come back for Hightown?
You know, one of the things that I have been putting off
Gothic cattails.
is finding a way to make the cattails viable.
Ooh, are you on
Should-
Cattail Quest?
I am. I really want.
Yeah, they're amazing.
How do you still keep it looking that good, but in a way that's more castable?
Well, part of it is filling in some of the deeper crevices. I think.
A lot of the issue is all the undercuts. Yeah.
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 I think that it would be possible. The problem is I don't know, steel molds. I can cast easily cast the cattails using silicone.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. It's the issue with trying to make them dwarvenite.
It's too bad we can't make new molds for Wildlands Zero Forge. That would be
Yeah,
that would
the
be
triumphant return of the cattail.
It's the thing that comes up a lot too when people ask us to just.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you have you already have like the resin stuff sculpted. Just cast that in dwarvenite. It's like it doesn't. You have to sculpt entirely differently for a different material.
Yeah.
Like, it
Well,
won't translate over very well.
Or what's castable in one thing is not necessarily castable in the other.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of. I was younger, and I didn't.
It was like
I
2
didn't
years
think-
ago.
I didn't think.
She was only a child.
Yeah, she was just a young lass.
I was too enamored by making them, having them exist, to be careful enough to make sure that they could exist.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the quote of the night.
They do look very good.
Very amazing. Do we have
So
more
your
questions,
scientists are
Michelle?
so busy thinking about whether they could that they didn't ask whether they should. Yeah.
Wow, you should write a movie.
Yeah. Jurassic Park was just cattails.
It's just gently swaying in the
This
breeze.
is
It's
a
just the reverse, though.
I think this one would be fun to talk to just because of the developments the last couple months. How do you divide up the sculpting labor among the team, and can you choose the pieces you work on? We actually have,
Oof.
since Lowtown, have like started sliding into a different. Our answer is different now than it used to be.
Oh, we've shattered the team. we're doing three
I don't know.
projects.
I don't know if shattered the team is the way to phrase it.
Oh, it's a
No.
prong maneuver. You're doing three pronged attack right now.
We do have some say. If one of us really, really wants to work on something, we just say it. And
Generally say it over and over again.
Yeah.
You're just like,
though sometimes when you say you absolutely don't want to do something, somebody still makes you do it.
"Ooh, what is that?"
What was that?
Yeah.
I specifically said, no, I do not. You can have anybody else sculpt the Gorgon. I'm not going to do it. And you
Oh.
immediately gave me
You were
the
the one. It
assignment
was
to
the
do
perfect
that.
job for you.
To do
You
the.
did a great job on it, though.
I don't have any fighting music.
It was a hard, yeah.
But we actually sat down when we were looking at the projects that we were going to have to kind of do simultaneously. And I know that we were all kind of both wanting to work on all the projects, but knowing we needed to focus.
Yeah.
And Aaron brought up the fact that we really don't want to put things away and not touch it.
Well, we were going to
So
sort
we're-
of shelve Hightown for a bit because we're like, well, we don't want to launch Hightown until Lowtown ships. So why don't we shelve it? And she's like, wait, we're going to lose all of our momentum. We're going to remember everything that we've already, because it takes a while to internalize all the, hey, what were we doing in terms of the color and the shapes and the this and the, there's a lot of.
Well, that's because when we originally started doing Cities Untold, we put it on hold because Wildlands was taking so
Yeah.
long, and we did Reliquaries.
Yeah.
So we
lost some momentum, and she remembered that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so ultimately we decided that we needed to be working on everything together at
Everything
the same
all
time.
at once.
And
Everywhere.
I have very little. I have not touched at all any digital sculpting. And even though I really wanted to work on sci-fi, I knew that the precision and everything that's needed for sci-fi would it lended itself more to
Digital.
doing it all digital.
No.
And
That was a tough one to call for you to make too. Like that's like sci-fi is like that's your heart and
I've done I love doing the greebling. I
Yes.
did a firework trench run, and I did a whole Death Star fireworks scene. and that was so fun to do the greebling.
Star greebling. Well, you also are a wellspring of sci-fi info, right? It's like you're like, it's like this, or it's like that, or it looks like
Chuck
that
was
thing
the
on
one
this.
that told me what greebling was. He was the one that originally he'd seen
He's a
videos
big
and
sci-fi geek. Too.
Yeah. But so we decided that since Eli has been doing some 3D and Toby has been doing 3D, we decided that they would focus on sci-fi. And since I love doing all the minuscule detailing that I think Hightown really needs, I am focusing
This
with
stuff
Aaron.
is so in your wheelhouse. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the things we generally are trying, like, have people, hit
Getting in
people's
the way.
sweet spots, right? Find the things like, make sure people are on the things that they can really flourish on. It's not to say you don't get challenges like Gorgons or things that make you grow and
Yeah.
challenge, but generally, like, try and keep people in the spots they're excited, the things that they're generally excited about or they know they excel at. And obviously, one thing, you're not going to be excited about every single piece or every single bit, but
Right.
generally, we're like, have zones that people are great at that generally fall into, and then venture out of those when there's some good reason to.
And now I love doing greenery and stuff, but Eli, it just was in his wheelhouse. His wife.
You did some amazing those hedge walls, like the thorn walls are.
Yeah, doing some
Killers.
of that stuff. We want to expand greenery in Hightown, and so even though I want to go mess with that, I'm holding off so
Let's
that
see where it all.
so that Eli, because I know how much he loves that stuff too.
I bet there's going to be some room for. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll
I think
all
there's going
work
to be a
in
lot
there.
of greenery in Hightown because if we learn anything from Lowtown, people like greenery.
Really, really liked the greenery, and it just changes the whole feel, and it can go on anything. It'll go on the wood building. It'll go on the stone manor. It'll go on,
Go in your dungeon. Go in
And-
your,
and-
go in your cave.
if you want to make some place look dilapidated, even in Hightown,
Yeah.
you can throw
Throw a whole bunch of.
a whole bunch of greenery on it. and-
Yep. It's really also nice to color-wise just have something to break up.
So
your-
I think we kind of answered the question. Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, what else? What other people have questions for? My building's gonna be covered in ivy, Sister Ivy. Well, Rabbit Burner loves the rabbit hedgerows. It's got the little
Yes.
Easter egg in there.
Yeah, I had to add a rabbit in there.
Ooh, modular train. Ask Tyler. He made a train out of castles.
Yeah, we made a train out of castles for,
That was you and Tyler. Right?
yeah, it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. Oh my god. Yeah, that was summer 2020. That's when we were doing the games on here,
That
trying
was-
to figure out what to do.
That was before the world blew up.
Yeah, we built a train out of castle pieces. Are there going to be more secret doors in Hightown? Are we allowed to say?
Maybe.
Anything's possible. I mean, if you told people, it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
by
reveal,
definition,
the reveal on the bookshelf was like
no,
a very fun thing. So we showed them the bookshelf, and then for weeks didn't actually say anything about it opening.
no. They were supposed to do some clever, elaborate reveal, and it never
Hmm.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not salty about that at all.
No. But what the magic was, we showed it and no one knew it had a secret. It was literally a working secret door there. And it's like,
Yeah.
Man, I love that we used it in the Acquisitions Incorporated game of PAX East. And so we're going to have a really cool reveal where Perkins is going to open it for them and they solve the puzzle.
they didn't solve the puzzle.
They just could not figure out the puzzle, and so the guy, one of them decided he's just like, I'm just gonna break through the bookcase, and it's like, all right, he got like a 20 on the strength check. He's like, all right, well it's supposed to open the other way, but it's and it was the thing. He's just like, well, so this thing does open, and he just like showed him. And he's like, but you break through it, so it's. So he just had like a really cool reveal of the secret door.
I mean, that's D&D in a nutshell, right? You set your players up for this awesome thing, and they just like, they don't follow it, or they don't pull it off, or they don't whatever. What was that? You ran a game for us. You ran a Pathfinder game for us that was like a series of puzzle things, and we just like absolutely biffed. Do you remember? It was in the Caverns Deep. I think Caverns Deep, you ran like a Pathfinder game for us.
Mm-hmm.
I was an anthropomorphic.
Oh, right, where
I
everybody.
was like a badger scald or something, and like it was this really clever like multi-layered puzzle thing, and we just like we couldn't get that through the first door. We were like,
Well, no, you got into the first chamber, and then that was it.
yeah.
Just-
So we just made no like it was like
Yeah,
glacial
well.
pace. Like it was you had like 19
Yeah.
puzzles lined up, and we
puzzles
got
are,
through one. And
Puzzles are hard.
yes, have you seen Michelle's puzzles? It's like
Just designing them for.
you had physical things.
Everybody
too, and you had,
processes
like, all this-
information
Yes,
differently,
yep.
and then just the way that it's rough.
Oh.
I love doing props, and I love. I've done games where the players, the characters, could talk to the players, communicate with the players, and
How
the
did that-
clues that the characters were getting had to be solved by the players in the real world, and then they would give a clue to their characters. So they were physically running around my house to get
That's wow.
to-
Did they solve it?
to solve the puzzles. Yeah, they were
Amazing.
they were able to solve. So I'd hidden clues throughout the house. They were given a clue, and they talked on their magic rock to the players,
Oh my god.
and then had to run around on this
They're tearing your house
island.
apart trying to like
The characters were on an island, and the players were running around my house.
Oh, I love that.
So I really do love puzzles.
Puzzles are great, but it's so hard to design them. It's so hard to design them for players.
Well, there's two kinds of puzzles. They're too hard or they're too easy.
Yeah. Well, there's the puzzles we designed for the Hellscape game that you did at Gen Con. I think it was at Gen Con.
Black and white. What's the great riddle of this?
You were trying to figure out. Yeah, there was like this part of the Hellscape game was like you wanted there to be a puzzle. And you're just like, what? It's like what should it be? And you're like,
wait. Back up. It was 9. There were 9. It was like 9 layer. One puzzle for each layer of hell. But it was an hour-long game or something. It was like a really short game. We were trying to cram. Maybe it was 2 hours, but it was like it was a really tight timeline. Trying to cram all this stuff in, and one of them was a riddle. And I was trying to go this riddle. I'm like, what do you think, Chris? I'm like, it's gonna be this. You think
we were trying to figure out. It's like how do we make sure it's still challenging? And I was just like, why don't you just make it what's black and white and red all over? And then no matter what they say, the guy responds, "Oh no, that's better than what I had." And it's just right. Like whatever their first answer is right.
And that was the perfect answer too. And like the crowd lost it. It was like the perfect it was exactly the thing because it was like it built it up to like now prepare for the riddle of Kenya and whatever. And they're like, oh my god, they were all just like we have to solve a riddle now. We're not gonna do all this. And it was black, white, red over, and they're just like each other like really is that was it?
Yeah, just whatever the first answer is.
It was brilliant. Yeah. And they did it. We made it by like 3 minutes or something. It was in then 2 hours. Thankfully, if it had been a real riddle, it would have been over.
Who was in that game?
It was.
That wasn't the game that Perkins was at, where you got blood all over him, right?
No, it was. It was.
Was Ember in there?
It was Ember Moon.
Ember Moon. Okay.
Luke Gygax.
Amy Vorpal said she's done that game. Amy Vorpal's in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy. Was Amy Dallin in there too? What's the?
Oh, it might have.
Yes, she was playing a bird.
Because he had played with Amy Dallin before, and that's why we wanted to bring her in for the Wildlands game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Oh.
Right.
And her.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
All right.
All right, there we go.
So what other questions
Moving on.
do you have?
What other questions do we got? All aboard the sleepy train. I feel like I'm in the womb right now, so it's very hard to keep energy up.
It's just warm and wet in here.
So
there's no air conditioning. It's delightful. What does anybody have any questions for Michelle? What do I have for questions for Michelle? Did we want to show any other Hightown beans? Is there any other stuff here? While we have you here physically, is there anything else you want to show off?
Do you want to go grab some sci-fi stuff and just completely
steal
Eli's thunder?
No.
I'm so excited to show it. Oh, man.
The sci-fi stuff is looking so good.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to review.
Sorry to talk about something you guys can't experience yet.
I mean, that's half this show.
That's the weird thing. We've got so many... we're working on so many things at once now, but we're not really ready to show a lot of it.
That is, soon. TM. I would ask you about where you find all your inspiration. What about...
Love to see the big fireplace again.
How do you figure out how the heck you can do things in multiple ways, right? Because constantly, like in Lowtown, you would constantly come back with, hey, I've been working on this thing, but I also figured I could do this other thing. Like, do you just sit and stare at the geometry and start flipping it on its sides? And like how do you figure out, you're like, wait a second, this could also do this or whatever? Because there's some of these are wild. You're like, hey, if I pull this thing off, it can then flip to that. Like, how do you get there?
Part of it is back to the Lego. So many of the
Lego.
The architectural pieces. You've got frogs and hammers and skeleton feet and stuff that create different design elements.
A skeleton foot on the roof is now a finial.
And it's part of that, just once you're in that mindset, once you're starting to think about how these things are going to be used, you start to think, or it'll just be you toss it onto your desk and look over at it and go, oh, you know what? That looks kind of like it would. Ooh.
Well, then
And so
this kind of feeds into. So you're doing some foam mocks for Hightown. Maybe we've been spoiled. You want to
We
reveal
could- we could
the
grab-
name of the system you were working on? Do you want to?
we,
Do you
we
want to
could.
show?
I've got some of the foam pieces.
If we got
Should
the
we-
phone,
could.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Why not?
Grab it,
Is
grab it,
it
grab it.
something? Do we know it's going to be in?
No, but that's also part of the fun of this show.
Okay.
We show them stuff that's in development, and sometimes it dies. Sometimes it
All right.
sometimes it dies and rises like the phoenix. Or sometimes it gets even bigger. Sometimes it, whatever. I don't know.
All right.
We-
We're gonna.
Oh,
get
did
more-
Rabbit just go to bed too? Oh boy,
We're gonna get
you're
more.
gonna miss
beans.
out the beans,
We're
Rabbit.
about to get the rims out.
Uh-oh.
Will there be more double high wall? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Right.
good one.
Right. We're definitely gonna do double highs, right?
Yeah, double high for the win.
I don't think there's a. Yeah.
Paul's got a good 2 questions. We'll bring those when she gets back. Is that a series of sausage links?
It's beans.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
look
we
at
had-
the chat long
I
enough to understand visual jokes.
I took the biggest picture I could find of a kidney bean,
Eh.
and I
Made it into a...
shopped it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Alrighty. You can spoil this bean that I've been having a lot of fun working on this. Because,
Who was that? Oh no, she's just walking in. Okay.
I just
will
bumped
adjust,
it.
Yeah.
You gotta.
sorry.
All is good. No, do your thing. Do your thing. And this was kind of a I don't know, I don't remember exactly what you were working on, but then you were sort of like, hey, what if I just did a thing and you pitched like a full-fledged system?
Yep, I pledged the system.
It went from one piece into a system.
Yes. Well, it started out with,
Ooh,
we
wait,
wanted,
should we take a side, look at the, that was your sketch for
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
the Gothic front loader show.
So yeah,
yeah,
Did you see that?
it started out with. a
Started
kiss.
there.
How did it end up like this?
What did it turn into?
to a lot more detailed.
It's awesome.
So,
All right, so you were pitching you were one piece and suddenly
suddenly,
I feel like you have a one-piece ringtone.
yes, I have a one-piece ringtone. Okay. We'll start off with a couple of designs.
And let's the preamble to this is, hey, this is stuff in development, so anything could happen.
Yeah.
So don't get too excited or too disappointed or whatever. We're just showing you the things we're thinking about.
So it started out as just trying to design the flying buttress.
A nice single one-piece buttress.
Yep. And while trying to make it work, I wanted it to be able to fit on multiple heights.
Because we've got double high walls and single high walls and yeah,
And if
double
you
stacked double high walls.
and also when looking at some of the buttresses, there are ones that go up onto and sit onto a roof,
Yeah.
where you've got a roof line here, and then It
Piece of
became-
secret door just.
that.
Secret door.
What?
Oh, yeah. Well, it went way over there.
So yeah, the main influence on this
I'm
is
going to
basically
bump the
Gothic
camera
architecture.
again.
Oh, Paul was asking what the cultural influences on Hightown were.
It's like mostly Gothic, yeah.
Well, we have Gothic as a theme, and then we have kind of a Victorian, kind of Grecian.
No.
It's good musical.
There
We
was
want to
some-
have, well, I wanted to have some dwarven stuff, we wanted to have maybe gnome stuff, and so it's all kind of
We're gonna see where it lands because we're
Yep.
having sculpt count challenges already.
yeah.
Um,
So
Are the high elves Gothic or Greek?
high elves are
they're neither in this lineup.
yeah, it's they're vaguely Gothic, but not really.
When are we gonna go Rococo?
Art Nouveau.
Yeah. I want to make pieces that hurt the eyes.
Okay. I pulled out some of my. I didn't have enough blowgun darts, so I ended up having to use toothpicks.
That's a downgrade.
So I wanted to have a modular set. I don't know where all of the toothpicks went to, so where you could change how tall the buttress was. It allowed us to make this section wall height, so you can put them inside the building.
That's a huge ad, right? Originally, okay, we'll just put them on the outside. You're like, but wait,
So you
check this
could-
out.
Yeah, you can stick them into the holes in
CBS hole.
yeah, pegs.
So there's already holes in the floor. You pop this in, and then you can
Yeah, and you
bake
can
it right
line
into
your-
your
You
the
can,
halls of your church or whatever.
if you had it, if you wanted to have arches inside your building, you can throw the arch piece on there.
Well, where else are you gonna hang your chandelier?
And then this worked against the side of a flat building, so if you wanted to have, okay, those are the 2-inch. If you wanted to have just an arches on the
Swing it
side
over
of,
here. Yeah. Down.
there you go, arches on the side of your building.
Or the front of your building.
And these were meant to be floor height,
The feet.
the feet. So you can either stick them right into a CBS floor or have the feet make them freestanding anywhere. Having multiple sizes so that you can have it go up to whatever size if you want really short ones. And you've got a smaller bits. If you wanted to have a double buttress, which I've seen examples of it,
Double barrel
You can-
buttress.
you can have it going up your building.
You know people are gonna do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you give them the ability.
the pole accessory hole to allow you to put gargoyles up here.
You're gonna be able to
or-
bedazzle your buttress.
And then they have, when you're putting the whole thing together, they have using the same hole that's in corner posts for facades and things. You can build your
You can put the post facades on
you can
this
put your
and decorate it up.
and you can also attach the side of the arch
To the
to another-
the side of your corner posts.
like in the sketch where you've got both
Yeah.
sides of it, so you can create the entire thing to slide the way our big buttresses from castles were just a solid piece.
Yeah.
This way,
And they're neat, right? I use the bunch, but they do one thing,
Yeah.
and I can't change the height. I can't do whatever. Now I have infinite buttresses.
And they'll be able to use to just change the outside of any building or the inside.
So you can use them with the ivy, yeah?
Neofoil.
Yeah, you can put
it
ivy
in.
on them.
Yeah. Anything with any facade, any of the little things with a facade peg.
That will be built into the
You could put a
to
hoist off it
design.
if you wanted. Yeah.
if you wanted to. And then Aaron had the idea of, since there's a hole in the end of this, if we created a chandelier piece, you could stick it in,
Could actually hang
stick it
chandelier.
in, and have that on the inside of your building, and then just hang it.
She's lobbied for chandelier for a couple of years now. Like,
Well, it's one of
been
those things that we've talked about it, because like the struggle with it is like, how do you have it? How do you have a ceiling? If you've got a ceiling for it to hang from, then you're not actually able to play inside.
And
so
how are you playing? And if
Yeah.
you do, how are you playing with it in there? And how are you interacting with it? And how you do it? And like it's a really neat dream, and it's hard to figure out how to work it on the table.
It was a talk, like very early in development. I know we were talking about. It was like, is there a way to make like playable rafters? And it was just like, I don't know.
Well, how do you swing off a chandelier? And how do you
Yeah.
put LEDs in it?
Yeah.
And like, these are the hard hitting questions we ask.
Yeah,
It's the best.
and so I don't have the entire system with me. I just what I could fit into the bin I was taking and packing up.
They get the
but,
gist of it though.
How's it been working with foam versus clay?
Well, the advantage is that I don't have to worry about the clay sagging. Foam doesn't sag.
No.
The downside is it's a little harder to get it exactly the right size that
It's
I
a little struggle.
want.
Also, it moves as you try and cut it and stuff.
Yeah, and it dulls your blade very quickly, and you have to.
Yes.
And if you have a little bit of a phobia of the sound of metal on metal,
Oh no.
using
The honing steel is your nightmare.
makes me a little. It's I don't have the chalk, the scratching on chalkboard. I have metal against metal that kind of gets me a little bit.
The Freddy Krueger effect.
Luckily, I have my wonderful husband who will.
Happily sharpen your blades.
Yeah.
I
But
just really like sharpening knives.
Just cause.
Just really into it for some reason.
Everybody needs a hobby.
but I can't wait to actually start doing sculpting and getting down into the design, the actual
Yeah.
design. I mean, the geometry still needs a little bit of work, but
Well, turning that into 1,000 little tiny details is it's pretty.
well,
cool.
and what's going to be fun though is that because I'm working with 4 sides, I've got 4 sides I can put details on.
Normal people go, "Oh man, there's 4 sides to put details on," and you're like, "Ooh, there's 4 different sides I get to put details on."
And it's not going to have just a lot of plain brick.
No, I think you're allergic to plain brick. You must slay all
So-
the plain brick.
Well, and if it's Gothic, well, okay, I can do them a little more plain if we want to go with all facades to make them Gothic.
Right.
And if I design them in such a way that, we'll be able to put the facades on to dress them up, then there might be some merit to not sculpting everything detail on there.
Well, and
piece,
therein
but-
lies one of the Dwarven Forge design challenges, where we kind of need to design everything all at once to make sure it all works together. but you can't possibly design everything all at once, and it takes a long time to do each thing. And you want to get each thing as far along as you can so you can see the whole, but if you get along too far and then you get the whole done and you realize, oh, wait a second, you have to go back and change. So it's this weird thing of trying to do everything
Yeah.
all at once, but also not doing everything all at once so you can figure it out and adjust as you go. And yeah, I don't know where the sweet spot is there. We're still finding it.
Yeah. I think there's definitely merit to doing mocks. Being able to have
even
that.
just knowing that you're like, hey, you know what? While I'm thinking about the facades for the corner posts, if I also know I've got these in existence, what's that going to do on these, and does that affect the design of this and or the corner posts and whatever? So if at least you know what all your systems are and sort of how that geometry is functioning, what the question marks are, then as you're working through a thing, you can say, does it answer any of the questions on this other thing or not, or do I need to change this so it works for that thing? Or do we just kill that other thing?
Yeah. It is a constant juggle of what can we do, what is feasible, how much wrath do we want to receive from Tyler and Jay and CMS for what we're doing.
The dance between creativity and the realities of manufacturing.
Yeah.
We managed to thread that needle in just the sort of the right. You know who helps is you guys, because you throw money at it and you're like, well, I guess that solves it. And let's see.
Yeah, I'm glad we haven't recently had any issues with going way over on sculpt count or anything.
Count?
Yeah.
No. At all.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting better at it though.
I mean, the last two
I agree,
were the
but
biggest
we
they've
also-
ever been.
Yeah, but you should have seen what we had planned.
We're getting better at
Just because we've cut more pieces than ever
Yes.
doesn't excuse that we still went through with more pieces than ever.
Just because we decided not to murder all these people. Wait, how does it?
I don't know,
Just
but
'cause
it's probably a good time to drop it.
So, anything we should do before we wrap this thing up? It's 9:00. Any?
We should get an ice bath.
I know I'm really hot.
It's really bad.
Any? Do you have any parting words for the studio audience here?
keep watching because
Don't go away.
It's-
I'm gonna leave this running.
You're just gonna leave it on. Oh, there's a ton of stuff in development, and we're gonna have lots of fun stuff to continue to show.
and we haven't done any kind of sneak peeks on sci-fi at all.
No,
And
zilch.
We've been very tight-lipped on that one. I feel like we got to make a big deal out of the reveal. We should do
it just like we did with the Secret Door bookcase. just like
We
casually happen to have some sci-fi like on the thing.
We should,
Oh
we
wait,
should make an event out of the sci-fi
Yeah.
reveal and just do like plan just like a solid 2 hours of like demo. There's so much cool. It's very cool. I'm excited.
it is very, very cool.
I mean, what's exciting is we have Hightown, a bunch of really cool stuff cooking for Hightown right now. We have a bunch of really cool stuff cooking for sci-fi right now, and we have this board game is starting to take shape. So
That's a lot of fun. We got to play.
We're actively seeing progress on all those things too.
And we're about to launch our first GameFound campaign.
Yeah, and we're actually starting separate from like our product development stuff. We're now actually launching our first of like major projects that's just focused on like store growth and reworking old stuff.
And we're going to Gen Con in 4 weeks.
God, yeah.
That's only 4 weeks away.
I know.
Oh
No.
no.
So we got to go out there on Monday to prep for.
Didn't we just
Something
have New Year's? Was it
Yeah.
New Year's just like last week?
Yeah. So these lots of stuff. So keep watching. We got things are brewing, things are coming, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, get a glimpse in the process. Hopefully you learned how slow and painful sculpting is. Or I don't know. Maybe you got some fun lessons and inspiration from Michelle and her perseverance and creativity. And maybe you can start. People will start analog copy and pasting themselves.
It is certainly if you're just starting out.
Now the camera overheated.
Yep, just overheated again.
All right, that's our side. If you're just
Yep.
starting out, what's your?
If you're just starting out, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you make something that you really love, make a mold of it quick because because then you can make copies of it and change it down the line.
Oh.
When you look back on something you did in the past and you went, oh,
I wish I
I
could
could change that. Ooh, I can. I made a mold of it.
But that your advice of don't be afraid to make mistakes is huge. That drives everything we do, right? All of us make a lot of mistakes and make them rapidly, and it gets us closer to the next one.
You know, good stuff can come out of it.
Oh yeah,
I would have been born.
half the wow, half the things we do don't work the way we plan them, but it gets us to where we're
Yep.
headed, and we just keep going and learning and growing. So
Thank
I
you,
don't know what the moral of the
everybody.
story is. Thank you. Good night. What is it?
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Chris.